How to make a quick quilt. A basic, quick, and dirty way to make a complete quilt of any size or color. Steps. 1. Plan your quilt first. The easiest way to do this is to buy a quilting magazine and find a pattern that's marked easy or beginner. Quilting magazines are found in fabric stores such as Joe, Ann, Hancock's, or local stores. 2. In the same magazine, find a list of basic supplies and tools. Almost every quilting magazine provides a how-to section that lists what you need and how to get started. At the very least, you'll need fabric, thread, scissors, a cutting mat and a rotary cutter and quilting ruler. You can sew a quilt by hand or on a sewing machine. 3. Purchase your fabric and supplies. Most quilters prefer 100% cotton fabric, but it's okay to use cotton, polyester blends too. Also purchase batting, which is the middle layer of the quilt, and enough additional fabric to cover the back of the quilt. It's also okay to use a bed sheet for your quilt back as long as it's big enough. 4. Cut out the pieces that go into your quilt top and sew them together, following the instructions in the pattern. If you have questions, consult the same magazine's how-to section or try one of the thousands of websites that Google lists. About.com has a particularly good one found under Hobbies, Quilting. Aim for accuracy so your quilt goes together evenly on all sides. 5. Once your quilt top is finished, measure it and prepare the middle layer or batting by cutting it the same size as the quilt top. There are many kinds of batting, but the easiest one to work with is a thin, all cotton or cotton polyester blend. 6. Cut your backing fabric the same size as the quilt top and batting. 7. Lay your backing fabric on a table or other surface big enough to accommodate the quilt. Smooth it out with your hands and get rid of any puckers or wrinkles. The wrong side of the backing fabric should be against the table surface. 8. Lay your quilt top over the quilt back, right side down. The two right sides of the top and back should be facing one another. 9. Lay the batting down over both. 10. Baste the 3 layers together using safety pins all around the edges, about 3 inches in from the edge. 11. Sew the 3 layers together with a sewing machine or serger. Leave an opening for turning the quilt right side out. The bigger the quilt, the larger the opening you will need. 12. After turning the quilt right side out, hand stitch the opening closed, using a small stitch so it can't be seen too well. 13. Tie the 3 layers together across the whole quilt, top to bottom. 14. Get a sewing needle with a large eye. It should be a fairly long, strong needle that can go through all 3 layers of your quilt. You will also need a sturdy thread such as crochet thread, several strands of cotton embroidery thread, or other similar threads in a color that looks good with the quilt. 15. Decide where you want the tied knots to appear on the quilt. Most of the time, knots are spread out evenly on the quilt about 6 inches apart, but you can also do a design of some kind, or just tie randomly as well. 16. Thread the needle but don't knot it. Take 1 stitch in the quilt, going in from the top, then up from the bottom. Leave a tail of thread coming out of the first hole long enough to tie a knot. This should be a small stitch. 17. Cut the threads as you go, leaving enough on both sides to tie a double knot by hand. You can tie the knots as you stitch, or wait and tie them all at once. 18. Your quilt is done. Tips. If you are interested in quilting as an art, take a class at your local quilt shop, buy some books, and go to a quilt show to see what can be accomplished. Joining a local guild is also a great way to meet other quilters and learn from them. Check out your local community education courses. Warnings. Rotary cutters use blades that are as sharp as razors. Be very careful cutting with them and follow the package directions carefully. Always use the safety features on your cutter and don't leave them where kids can get to them. Always cut away from yourself and never towards you.